Hey, Christy Renea here. I thought I would jump on really fast and do a quick video on a little bit more information on the ladder of awareness because I've had a lot of people asking questions. So I'm going to try and explain that a little bit more. And I am sitting here in front of a sunny window, so you're seeing some glare. And just be in the sun with me. Just be in the sun with me. You'll be fine. And I'm sitting here literally because it's warm. So I think we're at like maybe 28 degrees or something right now, so it's pretty chilly here. So the ladder of awareness is a way that you can clear subconscious stuff, or you can work on things that are trapped in your subconscious. I don't like to use the word clearing too much anymore. It's more of reprogramming the system as to what you want it to be aware of, instead of it just diving into the negative stuff that you've lived through your whole life, kind of thing. So understanding easy ways to do that is a lot of what this is about, and getting this system coherent is like the high end of the game, right? Because it literally will change your physiology. It'll change the way your bodily processes function. So you have to understand that first of all. And then, going after the subconscious stuff, or changing perceptions and beliefs and those kind of things that you just can't seem to get over with affirmations or with just general practices. This is a really strong way to do that. So it's kind of a nice side effect, right? It's a nice side effect. And no matter what purpose you're using it for, whether it's to build your immune system or strengthen your internal organs or your body or whatever, or whether it's to take care of subconscious stuff and trauma, no matter what you're using it for, either direction is a nice side effect, right? You can't have part of it work without the other part of it working. So know that too. It's just going to do what it does because that's how it works. It's what it is. So let's go back through just really quickly what I'm talking about, the ladder of awareness. Your body produces neurotransmitters, right? So your brain produces neurotransmitters, your heart produces neurotransmitters, and then your gut also produces neurotransmitters. In those different places, you get different information from those different neurotransmitters. So it can cause a state of discontentment or a state of chaos, a state of confusion, if one place has one set of information and then another place has a different set of information. And we're talking about three different areas that produce neurotransmitters. So let's say that your heart has information that, life is peaceful and you're in love, right? So that's internal heart information. Actually, and there's 4 different places. And then outside of your heart, right, we're now working with the neurotransmitters on the outside of the heart. And I don't think I even mentioned those in that other video, but those are there too. And those do produce, that's where the neurotransmitters are produced. And it also holds memory. So that part of your heart can tell you you're aching and in pain and, right, my heart hurts kind of idea. And your gut could be telling you, nothing's going on, or you're totally unaware of what your gut's doing because we've been trained to not pay attention to it. Or your gut could be telling you, it feels heavy and you're weighted down and you have that sinking gut feeling. Do you know what that feels like, right? I always used to describe it as the other shoe's about to drop. I could always feel it, right, when the other shoe was about to drop. But we tend to ignore those things. And then in your brain, you have the ability to think. And so you tell yourself things, and we used to use all the affirmations and all of that kind of stuff, but never really linked it to the ability of the heart or the gut, or even the ability to feel, right, a different level of feeling. And so you would say an affirmation, from like, I hate myself, is your internal dialogue, for example, to the affirmation would be the total opposite, right? I love myself. And sometimes we'd add all the flowery, lovely words, right? Louise Hay taught us how to do that really well. And I love her work, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was entirely helpful because most of the time it didn't work. It didn't do a whole lot, and it might get you so far, but it wouldn't get you in the long run to where you were hoping to get to. So your brain, you train yourself to say, okay, instead of I hate you, I'm going to say I love you. but my heart has this like really pained feeling to it. And then my gut is just like the other shoe's about to drop. So it's your whole system's just out of coherence, right? It's an incoherent state. So the game of getting the system coherent is what the ladder of coherent, or the ladder of awareness, does. And you're just moving your awareness up and down this ladder with the information. So if I start in my brain, and for the purpose of this, brain is thought form. So I had a lot of people contact me going, brain does a lot more than just thinking. And I'm like, I know it does. For this purpose, we're using it for the thoughts that it can produce to any one subject, okay? And let it do whatever it does, because that's what the brain does. But for this purpose, brain is for thinking, right? What are you thinking of when you feel this way? Or what thoughts come into your brain when you feel like this? If you can get that level of feeling coherent through the system, right? So if it's a horrible feeling and your heart also feels a horrible feeling and your gut also feels a horrible feeling, and that's a coherent state, but it's a really awful coherent state. What are you? Who are you? How do you act? How do you interact? How is your beingness in this world? Okay. If, on the other hand, you are chasing your spirituality, you're chasing falling in love with yourself, and even if you don't know what that feels like, if we can say, okay, I know what love feels like on some level, and you can think about all the thoughts that come to your mind when you feel that feeling of love, and you say, okay, I've got that, and you put them in the bucket and move it down the ladder into your heart, and you drop it into the center of your heart, your spirit will produce more love, and it will give you a kind of love that is not from this plane of existence, from this 3D realm. You will get a kind of love that is higher, evolved consciousness than anything most people can expect, right? And some people will only get a level of peace. I always laugh. I'm like, that level of peace is way higher than anything you can produce by what you've been taught on this planet, because it comes from your spirit, right? So your spirit are these things. Your spirit is love. Your spirit is joy. Your spirit is peace. Like, name all the attributes. Your spirit is those things. It doesn't do those things, right? And it doesn't have to have something happen in order for it to be those things. It just is. It's its natural place in the cosmos, is those levels of vibration. So when you can understand that, right? So I take love from my understanding, from my brain, and I take it to my gut, or to my heart, and I let my heart transduce it. Your heart is a transducer. It changes forms of energy. And then I move it from there down into my gut, and my gut will only tell me one or two things, because that's how the gut operates, right? So you either get more of the issue that you proposed, and we're proposing love. So if you get a level of peace or calmness, right, we're in that same ballpark. And if your gut totally denies you access, right? It throws you right into fight and flight for whatever reason. I don't question it. I don't ask why. I don't ask what is this. I literally take it by the feeling. So we're moving the neural peptides from the gut with my awareness. I'm using the bucket and ladder just to make it easy access for you. And then we're moving that back up into the heart space, right? And then transducing it again. So I'm giving this gut level feeling into the bucket, bringing it up into my heart. I'm giving it to my spirit to transduce into a level of love, peace, joy, satisfaction, gratitude, right? Whatever. And then sit there and feel that, get that feeling, and then you're moving the neuropeptides back to the gut. Did you know you can move neuropeptides around in your own body? It's the craziest thing when you realize the level of control you can actually have inside your own system. And moving it might be the wrong word for it. It could be the ability to produce it in an area, recognize it, and then take that feeling to another area and let that area produce it also. And it does. It changes your feeling in those different spaces. And a lot of people who were playing with this, when I first posted the Ladder of Awareness video the other day, a couple people anyway, left some really beautiful comments that they understood and they felt it, right? So they got a difference. And so then another question that had come through was, what all can you use this for? So using it for detaching from trauma or negative issues. And I'll go through some more of these. I've had a little bit of a busy work week, so I'll make another video either tonight or tomorrow with a different, I think we used fear last time. We'll use a different high-level emotion. We'll do sadness. Okay, we'll do sadness. And go through the ladder again and let you feel that. You can do it to specific incidences or issues, right? So I've got something specific going on in my life, and I go up into my brain and I think it, put all the thoughts about it in the bucket, right? The feeling will come with it. It just does. Take it to your heart, dump all the stuff in your heart, and let your heart transduce it. And sit there and just watch what your heart does. It's quite amazing, right? And then down to the gut. I'll produce another video later on too, more about how to handle the neurites on the outside of your heart, because I've just become very aware that those can be blockers to this process. You'll get a great feeling to a subject, and then some people still are ending up chasing themselves around. And I think it's those neurites on your heart. So if we can get those in coherence with everything else, right? If everything's vibrating at a rate, at a high rate of love or even peace, everything's in peace. Now who are you? Now what are you, right? So that's basically how it works. Your brain is thoughts, is thinking, your heart is feeling, emotion form, and then your gut is feeling, physical form, right? That gut feeling kind of idea. If you write some of this stuff down as you're going through it, and then check back in with yourself, a couple days or even a week later, and notice differences. If you notice differences and become aware of your differences, they will stick better, right? They'll stay with you longer. If you notice the differences and then you ride those higher feelings, this is something people don't tend to do. They get a difference and then they let a bad feeling come back in instead of going back and finding that better feeling, right? Which would be useful with the ladder of awareness, right? You get your high feeling, you're feeling pretty good, then all of a sudden something comes in and sideswipes you, makes you feel bad again. Instead of going through all the motion and commotion and drama with that bad feeling, take it into your brain and think some thoughts about it. What is this? Why am I feeling this? Where did it come from? How do I stop it? Whatever you think about it, right? This person did something to me. That person did that. My job is having this effect on me, right? Whatever it is, and throw that in the bucket and take it to your heart and then go through the whole system. Right? I never let a bad feeling stay in my system long enough that it manifests into a trauma or a problem or something that goes on and on and on. The second I become aware of it, I'm like putting it through the system. And if you get really good at this, it doesn't take time. It can be super fast. It's like bloop, 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 just straight through, right? Straight through. Once you've got that good feeling in your gut and you breathe through the whole system is coherent. It's all feeling. Sorry about my shaky hand there. The whole system's feeling about the same way. That's when, right, you bring that good feeling back up to your brain and you implant that good feeling into your brain because you want your brain to start to produce neuroplastic to it. You want it to become like a stable, this is my go-to place. And if you create the neuroplastic here, that's what will start to happen. Sorry about that again. I'm trying to think of some of the other questions I saw. How often can you do it? Somebody asked, how often can you do this? I've sat and done it for hours on end. Like I would write down subjects and go subject after subject, and then I would get caught up in a subject because things would just happen and other things would show up, and I would just keep chasing it. I would keep going after it. If you get into a place where you think you're doing it wrong or you're having an issue, contact me. Contact me, because you really can't screw this up. You can't do this wrong. And it'll only get better and better if you stay with the higher level feelings. Never leave yourself in a lower level feeling, ever. Never, let me say that again, never leave yourself in a lower level feeling. Ever, to anything. I just had a screaming fit with my friend down the street, right? And I've got this, I I come home and run it through the system, and that didn't happen. It never happens. But if it did, that's what I would do, is run it through the system. I just had an issue at work. This did just happen. I just had an issue at my new job, told that I can't work there because I won't download their app on my phone. I think is extremely hysterical. I just came home and run it through the system, and then I got some very interesting options from some people that I work with. I'm not sure what happened to my light there. Or some other people that I do kind of work with them. I talk to them all the time. Gave me some interesting references and ideas that I can use to help the situation. So, right, running it through the system and not staying in the negative vibration will always give you a better turn. Get the system coherent, and then learn to stay there, right? So you have to keep coming back to it in order to train yourself to be there. This is an ongoing activity. It's not like the meditation you sit down and meditate for 30 minutes or 2 hours or whatever, and then you get up and go back into your crazy day and you go back into the crazy feelings and act crazy. It's not like that. You can't do that. You have to train yourself to become this new level of feeling and stay in it all the time, which means you have to have some way quickly to keep getting back to it. And that's the idea of coherence throughout the system. Right? If I'm going sideways and something doesn't feel right, I will stop and breathe a few times. First, I'll go into my heart space, so I just get heart coherent. And then I take that feeling of heart coherence, right? The feeling produced by my heart. Usually I get a really great feeling of peace or a level of joy. And then I bring that up to my brain and I take it to my gut and I give the information to those places too. And then I sit there and just breathe it through the system. Right? Maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes of work. If you're still in a place where you're learning this and you're doing the 3 minutes every hour, do that 3 minutes every hour. It will train your system to keep coming back here. Yeah? Okay. Hopefully that was helpful and that answered some questions. I will jump on later on and we'll do sadness. Somebody had asked if we could do one on regret. We can do that. And then we're going to do some with positive things too, because the negative kind of gets taken care of, right? The negative gets, what's the word I'm looking for? It like gets cleared. I don't like using that word. The negative gets handled. And then when you do positive things, it gets amplified, right? It gets bigger, the positive stuff, because it is what your spirit is. When you can find peace in your brain and you're like, oh, I'm in a great level of peace. And this is a great way to train the system, by the way, in a great level of peace, and you feel it. And you're like in your brain thinking about how great it feels. And then you bring it to your heart. You're giving your heart information. I'm accepting your peace, right? To your spirit, you're giving information. And then you take that to your gut and you give that level of peace to your gut also. It's just so juicy. It's just so wonderful and lovely. Like you can't beat it, right? You can't go wrong doing this. So to get rid of the negative, you do the latter with the thoughts of whatever's going on, the issue, the feeling, whatever the thing is, the trauma, past or present. Ongoing issues can be a little bit tricky. So we'll do an ongoing issue also, because that one can get a little bit tricky. If it's something that's ongoing and it's been ongoing, like actively ongoing for a period of time, but you can still come to peace with it, right? It's all up to you. It's all what you choose to do. So I'll do a video on ongoing situations also. Okay, I bless you. I love you. Thank you for being here. I hope this helps. Please share, subscribe, and whatever else we're supposed to say. I always forget. All right, we'll talk again soon.